Occupy Wall Street.
Occupy Wall Street.
Wall Street.
Wall Street.
Obviously, I've heard of it. I've seen it on television.
We begin this morning, though, with the protest movement that began near Wall Street and appears to be gaining strength. Here's a look now. It's in every U.S. state and more than 100 cities. We begin our coverage with CBS correspondent Begad Shaban, who's at the park here in New York where the protests all began. Begad, good morning.
Well, good morning, and it's a chilly start to the day here with temperatures in the 50s, but protesters still decided to camp out here for the 27th straight day in a row. And the private owners of the park here are now letting them stay, at least for the moment. That after backing down their initial order to have everyone removed yesterday temporarily to clean the park. And now well beyond this area, the movement is growing.
In Seattle, dozens of protesters took their chants downtown.
If you choose to remain on the premises.
And in Denver, across the state capitol, those camped out at a park were ordered out by police, armed with riot gear. At least 20 people were arrested. Just outside Los Angeles, about 75 people marched to the home of a top bank executive in San Marino.
They're trying to destroy the American dream while they live in big fancy homes and have millions of dollars in income every year.
And in New York, where it all began, protesters clashed with police yesterday as officers, some brandishing batons, pushed into the crowd to clear the streets in lower Manhattan. This man appeared to have his leg run over after ignoring police warnings to stay on the sidewalk. After he kicked over the officer's motorcycle, he was arrested, one of at least 14.
He was taken.
Occupy Wall Street! 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 Occupy Wall Street!
Peter Schiff, and I've come down here to Occupy Wall Street to represent the 1% and see if I can have a dialogue with the other 99%, maybe see if we can find some common ground, and maybe I can help educate the people to direct their protests to the more appropriate source, because it's my opinion that they shouldn't be here occupying Wall Street. They should be in Washington occupying Pennsylvania Avenue. They should be protesting in front of the White House, in front of the Federal Reserve, in front of Congress, in front of the Supreme Court.
Increased in the last 5 years. Is your income going up or going down in the last 5 years? How much money do you make, and is it increasing?
I think it's increasing, but what's your point? Yeah.
Why is everyone else's annual income stagnating?
Because, well, a lot of it is because of inflation that the Federal Reserve creates to prop up failing banks or to prop up the government to pay for the social welfare state. But the reason that the middle class is suffering is because the government is destroying the economy. Capitalism benefits most the middle class and the lower class, but we don't have it anymore. That's the problem.
How can you blame? How can you say that it's just the federal government when the people that were in the government, like Ronald Reagan, Secretary of the Treasury, was Don Reagan. He was the Secretary of the Treasury then. In the Clinton years, there was Secretary of Treasury Rubin, and these guys were head of Goldman Sachs, head of Citigroup. And so these are the people that are actually making these economic
Remember,
policies.
I agree with you on this. I want to get Wall Street's influence out of Washington.
So this is what this is about.
So when you're talking about, businessmen, you're lumping everybody in the same category as Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan and Morgan Stanley. They're not. right?
All their transactions that are risky are happening right here on Wall Street.
Yeah, and they're happening with government subsidies. Take those subsidies away. Take the cheap money away from the Fed.
While people in D.C. are protesting at the White House or at Capitol Hill, we here in New York are protesting Wall Street because, like you just agreed with me, they go hand in hand. They're accomplices. They're in bed together. But the people that are in government making these policies came straight from here, went to the government, and then come right back here to make even more money after the policies that they passed.
But I'm
that are
saying
helping
that
them.
protesting here ain't going to do anything.
Why?
It's
We're
because
letting them know.
because
We're
as
letting
long
them-
but they don't care as long as
If they
government
don't care, then we should even protest more.
as long as government has goodies to hand out, Wall Street's going to want its share. Stop the government from giving out.
Create the goodies. They're going to go in government in order to make the
But
laws.
if you take the government out of it, then the only way they can make money is by benefiting everybody else. Right now, they're making money at the expense of other people because they got their
You're
government
basically
doing their
saying, like,
dirty work.
If there was no government at all, then
No, I'm not saying no government at all. I'm saying limited constitutional government.
would not change much because it might even be easier for them to
No,
just
no,
get in,
no,
get in the
but
door.
but there'd be no door to get into. The only way they can
As
get
long
money
as
is
there's
if
a government,
they-
there'll be a door to get into.
Where should we protest then?
the White House, the Federal Reserve, Congress, Supreme.
Why does that matter when either way we've started a global thing here and people are really seeing the idea? Doesn't matter where it is when the idea is still getting.
But what we need to be protesting is government. We want our freedom back. We want our prosperity back. And we're not going to get it from government. We're going to get it from ourselves, from capitalism, from individual entrepreneurship. That's what we need. We need the values that the founding fathers bestowed on us. We need to go back to that.
I agree, but I believe you're stuck on the synecdoche of Wall Street. It doesn't matter that it's Wall Street. Because we're protesting here, it's still
I know,
getting
but
seen everywhere else.
the rap on this movement is that it's anti-capitalist, anti-business, that you guys are all walking around with copies of the Communist Manifesto in your pocket.
That's not true at all.
All right, well, clear it up.
I've seen so many Ron Paul supporters and libertarians here, you'd be surprised. You sound like a libertarian yourself, right?
Well, that's what I think. I want
You sound like a
people to know
libertarian
that
yourself, right? There's marchers saying end the Fed. It's the exact same things you're saying. You actually sound like a supporter. You sound like a supporter. The basis of this
Well, yeah,
movement,
why was the economic advisor
The
when he
basis-
ran for president in 2008?
the basis of this movement, right?
Yes.
That's great. The basis of this movement, right, is that the Wall Street and the government are too closely tied together. And you sound like you're against the same issue. So I really don't see what you're down here trying to explain. Like, can you?
Because I want to
you're
make
with
sure.
us.
Yeah, but we have to focus our anger and our outrage on the government that's made it all possible.
Federal Reserve is like
What's happening? Yeah, what's happening on Wall Street is a consequence of this power emanating from Washington. You got to cut off the head of the snake. That's how you kill it.
Should we not protest here? Should we go?
Of course. Who wouldn't want a bailout? If the government came and offered to bail you out, you'd take it. The problem is the government shouldn't be able to offer the money. Look, I wanted every bank that bet wrong to fail.
If Ron Paul is so different, how come he always casts his vote with the Republicans?
If what?
If Ron Paul is that different, how come he always casts his vote with the Republicans?
He doesn't. Well, he doesn't always. He doesn't always. He's very independent. He's very independent.
For medical doctor, wait. For medical doctor, how come he says that if a person has no medical care, you might as well drop dead?
That's not what he said.
That's what he said.
No, he didn't. I listened to it.
No.
What Ron Paul said.
If you have no health care, you might as well drop
No.
dead.
First of all, before the government got involved in healthcare, there was much more access and it was much less expensive. And what happened was Ron Paul pointed out that when he was a doctor a long time ago, doctors took care of the poor for free. Nobody died if they were sick. The problem is the government has run up the cost of health care so much through the tax code, through Medicare, through Medicaid. Anything the government touches, it ruins. It drives up the price. It drives down the quality.
Obviously, he never took the Hippocratic oath.
Yeah, I wish the government would take the Hippocratic oath and do no harm.
Paul should take, because he casts all his votes with the Republicans. So he's
He doesn't cast all his votes for the Republicans. No, he's the most independent voter out there. Check his record. Check his record. Check his record.
You're stuck then. How do we live? Yes, we need corporations to a certain extent. We need business to a certain extent. We need government to a certain extent. But now you're stuck. Where does one go? Like, what is the limit? What is the limit on business? What is the limit on government? Where do we put those limits?
First of all, corporations are simply businesses that incorporated. And corporations are just individuals that got together to run a business. I mean, that's all they are.
Individuals? Should they have corporate personhood?
Well, there are legal rights that a corporation has as a fictitious person, but apart from that, there are people.
There's no
Yes, it's
accountability.
fair.
Why?
Because what the corporate structure does is it enables businesses to raise more capital and grow bigger because you shield the shareholders from some of the liability. So you make it.
Interest of the shareholders. Is that
It's
what
in the
you're
interest of
saying?
the whole economy because it makes it easier for businesses to expand and make the investments necessary. No, they only do that because the government forces them to because the taxes and regulations are too higher. Because remember, the corporations owe an interest to their shareholders. That's what they are. They're just like you. They're not there to serve society. They're there to make a profit. But the result is that they end up serving society through the invisible hand.